The person you cannot stop thinking about may still care about you more than you realize, even if things feel messy, uncertain, or hard to explain right now. There may be a deeper reason this person keeps coming back into your mind. It is not always random. It is not only because you feel lonely, bored, or emotionally tired. Something inside you still feels this connection. That is why they return again and again, quietly, naturally, almost on their own. They appear in the small spaces of your day, in the silence before sleep, in the calm moments when the noise fades and your mind finally softens. Sometimes they show up without warning while you are doing ordinary things, working, walking, talking, laughing. Then suddenly, there they are, their face, their voice, a memory, a feeling. It rises without effort. You did not call it in. It simply came. If this has ever happened to you, stay with me, because the reason matters more than you think. You may have tried to push these thoughts away. You may have told yourself it is time to move on. Time to stop replaying the past. Time to stop caring so much about something that still feels unclear. Maybe you reminded yourself of the silence between you, the distance, the confusion, the fact that nothing seems settled. Maybe you even questioned your own heart and wondered if you were holding on to something that was never truly real. But no matter how often you try to focus elsewhere, they return, quietly, steadily. And that does not always mean something is wrong with you. Sometimes it simply means the story inside you has not reached peace yet, and your heart still knows that what happened between you mattered more than words ever fully explained. When someone keeps living in your thoughts without effort, it often points to emotional energy that has not fully settled. Something was felt deeply. Maybe it was never clearly spoken. Maybe it was never given a name. Maybe it never had the chance to become what it could have been. But still, it mattered. Bonds like that do not disappear just because the mind decides they should. They are not ruled by logic alone. They live deeper than that, in memory, feeling, longing, and meaning. Sometimes a connection stays alive because it touched something true in you. Sometimes it stays because it ended without real closure. And sometimes it stays because both people felt something strong, yet neither knew what to do with it when the moment came. So the feeling remained, silent, but real. This is why a person can still feel close, even when they are far away. This is why you can miss someone in the middle of a normal day, without even understanding why that exact moment opened the door again. It is not weakness. It is not failure. It is not proof that you are stuck forever. It may simply be proof that the heart does not heal in straight lines. It circles. It returns. It revisits what still holds meaning. If there is someone who still appears in your mind no matter how busy life gets, notice that. Not with panic, not with shame. Just notice it, because repeated thoughts are not always empty noise. Sometimes they are signals from a deeper part of you asking to be understood. And if this message feels strangely close to your own story, keep listening. There is usually more going on beneath the surface than people can see from the outside. Silence does not always mean nothing is there. Distance does not always mean feeling is gone. And confusion does not erase what was once deeply real. It is possible that this person thinks about you too, even if they never say it out loud. Feelings do not always arrive through clear messages or brave actions. Some people carry emotion quietly, very quietly. They feel something strong, but they do not know how to express it. They may be uncertain. They may be overwhelmed. They may be afraid of making things worse. They may care deeply and still remain silent because silence feels safer than vulnerability. That happens more often than most people admit. So just because someone has not reached out does not automatically mean they feel nothing. Some people protect their feelings by hiding them. Some protect themselves by stepping back. Some freeze when something starts to matter too much. And for the person on the other side, that silence can feel sharp, heavy, confusing. You may feel waves of warmth, sadness, hope, or longing at strange times, as if something inside you still senses them. Maybe you think of them when something beautiful happens, and your first instinct is to tell them. Maybe you wonder how they are doing, even when your own life is full. That does not always happen because you are trapped in fantasy. Sometimes it happens because emotional bonds can stay active under the surface long after words stop. If you know that feeling, you already understand how hard it is to explain. The mind wants clean answers. The heart lives in subtler truths. And that is why this kind of connection can feel so powerful. It does not always follow rules. It does not move on command. It does not disappear on schedule. If this is speaking to you, do not click away yet, because the next part matters. A person can be distant and still care. A person can feel love and still hesitate. A person can want closeness and still be deeply afraid of what closeness will ask from them. You are not weak for still feeling this. You are human. That is all. Caring deeply does not vanish just because you decide it should. The mind may want peace now, but the heart often moves more slowly. When someone truly touched your inner world, they leave a mark. That mark stays until it is understood, healed, or transformed by time. This does not mean you should wait forever. It does not mean you should ignore your own life, your own healing, or your own needs. It simply means that what you felt was real enough to leave an imprint, and real things do not always fade quickly. Silence does not erase impact. Distance does not cancel meaning. Sometimes the reason there is no clear ending is because the connection opened something in you that still needs attention. Sometimes a person stays in your thoughts not only because of who they are, but because of who you became when you were with them. Certain people awaken something sleeping inside us. They reflect back a softer self, a braver self, a more alive self. And when access to that feeling is lost, the ache can seem bigger than the person alone. It can feel like losing a version of yourself that you loved being. That is why the longing can run so deep. It is not always just about romance. It is also about identity, memory, and emotional awakening. If that hits close to home, stay here with me, because understanding this changes everything. The connection may not only be about getting them back, it may also be about understanding what they awakened in you, what was unfinished in you, and what your heart is really asking for now. Sometimes the person is the doorway. Sometimes the deeper lesson is what waits on the other side of that door, asking to be seen clearly for the first time. Many people assume that if love is real, it will always show up boldly and clearly. But life is rarely that simple. Love and readiness are not the same thing. Someone can care for you deeply and still not be ready to move closer. Someone can feel your importance and still stay far away because fear speaks louder than longing. That fear can take many forms. Fear of rejection, fear of hurting you, fear of being seen too clearly, fear of changing their life, fear of repeating old pain, fear of finally receiving the kind of love they always wanted and not knowing how to hold it without breaking it. These struggles are often invisible from the outside, but inside a person, they can be loud enough to stop action completely. So yes, distance can exist even where feeling is strong. Not because love is missing, but because inner conflict is winning. Some people learned to live with guarded hearts. Some carry old grief that was never witnessed. Some became so used to chaos that calm love feels unfamiliar. They may secretly crave tenderness, and still panic the moment it becomes real. They may want closeness, and at the same time feel the urge to run from it. This contradiction confuses both people. It creates mixed signals. It creates long silence. It creates that painful feeling that something real is there, but it never fully arrives. If you have felt that tension, then you know how exhausting it can be. One part of you feels the bond, another part of you questions everything, and still the person remains in your thoughts. That is often because your heart senses what the situation has not yet resolved. So hear this clearly. Love can be present and still blocked. Care can be real and still restrained. The absence of action does not always prove the absence of feeling. Sometimes it only proves that fear has built a wall that the heart has not yet learned how to cross. Still, there is another truth you must not forget. Love alone is not enough without growth. Feeling alone is not enough without courage. No matter how deeply someone may care, you cannot carry the whole emotional weight for both people. You cannot save someone from their own patterns if they refuse to face them. You cannot keep sacrificing your peace while hoping your love will heal another person's fear. Real connection needs mutual responsibility. It needs honesty. It needs emotional maturity. Compassion matters, yes, but self-respect matters too. If someone is distant because they are struggling inside, that may be sad, and it may even be understandable, but it does not mean you must abandon yourself while waiting for their breakthrough. This is where many people lose themselves. They confuse understanding with endless endurance. They call pain loyalty. They call uncertainty destiny. But the heart deserves truth, not only hope. So if this person stays in your thoughts, pay attention not just to what you feel for them, but also to what this connection is teaching you about your own worth. Is it showing you patience? Maybe. Is it showing you how deeply you can love? Yes. But it may also be showing you where you overgive, where you chase, where you ignore your own needs just to keep a bond alive in your imagination. That matters a lot. Because the purpose of a connection is not always reunion. Sometimes it is growth. Sometimes it is clarity. Sometimes it is learning the difference between strong feeling and healthy love. If this part feels hard to hear, stay with it. The truth is not here to punish you. It is here to free you. You can honor what was real without letting it consume your whole life. You can admit the bond mattered without deciding that it must last forever. And you can care deeply while still choosing yourself. Often the mind returns to what the heart cannot fully resolve. That is why they appear when you are quiet, at night, in stillness, in the soft moments between daily demands. When distractions fall away, deeper feelings rise. That is not weakness. That is how the inner world works. Thoughts that come without invitation often rise from emotional layers that have not yet finished speaking. And when this person enters your mind, you are not only remembering them, you are also touching the feelings connected to them. The hope, the ache, the wonder, the unfinished questions, the version of your life that might have existed if things had gone differently. This is why a song, a place, a name, or a random memory can change your entire mood in seconds. The connection is still alive somewhere in your emotional world, even if daily life keeps moving. And yes, one day you may feel strong and detached, only for a small reminder to bring everything back again. That is normal. Healing moves in waves. One day the heart feels quiet, the next day it opens again. This does not mean you are going backwards. It means the process is still happening. Slow, deep, human. If you have ever felt calm for a while, and then suddenly missed them all over again, you are not alone in that. And if this feels exactly like your story, keep watching in your mind until the very end, because one important truth changes the whole meaning of this experience. The goal is not to force forgetting. The goal is understanding. The goal is seeing clearly what this bond meant, what it awakened, and what it now asks from you. Some connections stay because something still needs to be learned. Some stay because communication was never finished. Some stay because both people are growing toward the same truth, just not at the same speed. If this person loves you and still remains distant, there may be a private battle happening inside them that you cannot fully see. They may think of you far more than you know. They may wonder if you still care. They may feel the same pull and still hesitate every time they think about crossing the distance. That hesitation usually comes from fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of being rejected. Fear of changing a life that already feels complicated. Fear of getting close and then failing. Love does not always arrive with grand gestures and easy certainty. Sometimes it hides behind caution. Sometimes it waits in silence. Sometimes it watches from a distance, hoping the right moment will come without demanding too much risk. This does not always make the silence okay, but it can help explain it. People tend to move quickly when their feelings are light. But when something feels serious, when it feels like it could truly matter, they slow down, they think too much. They become careful. They measure every step. Casual interest speaks fast. Deep feeling often trembles before it speaks at all. That is why someone may look distant while carrying intense emotion underneath. They are not always cold. Sometimes they are overwhelmed. They ask themselves questions you may never hear. What if I cannot give them what they deserve? What if I ruin something beautiful? What if my past follows me here? What if I am not healed enough yet? What if getting closer makes everything harder? These questions do not come from indifference. They come from caring so much that the weight of it becomes frightening. If you have ever sensed that someone loved you but still could not step forward, then you know how painful this can be. It leaves you holding both truth and uncertainty at the same time, and that is one of the hardest emotional places to stand. Sometimes distance is not protection from you. It is protection from their own feelings. They step back because what they feel is too big, too real, too risky for the version of themselves they are right now. They may not know how to love without fear rushing in beside it. They may not trust themselves with something that matters so much. They may believe staying quiet is safer than becoming vulnerable. Distance can feel easier than exposure. Silence can feel easier than confession. Holding back can feel easier than risking the full truth. And for the one waiting, this kind of love can feel impossible to understand. It makes you question your instincts. It makes you ask whether the bond is real, or just something your heart created out of longing. But deep connections are rarely neat. They do not always move in straight lines. Sometimes they look broken before they become clear. Sometimes they hide behind practical excuses. Sometimes they choose delay over disaster. The person who loves deeply but stays distant may be fighting themselves every day. They may replay your conversations, think of your name in quiet moments, imagine what could happen between you, then pull back when fear rises again. This inner back and forth is exhausting. It can keep a person frozen for a very long time. They may even believe they need to fix themselves first before they can offer love in a way that feels safe and worthy. So they stay away, hoping distance will protect both of you from pain. But feelings held back do not disappear just because they are hidden. They stay alive, quietly, slowly, deeply. If this speaks to something you have been carrying, hold on to that truth. Love does not always vanish when action is missing. Sometimes it remains trapped behind fear that has not yet softened enough to let the heart move freely. For you, that distance can feel especially heavy because you feel emotional shifts strongly. You do not experience silence as nothing. You feel it in your chest, in your thoughts, in the strange moments when your mind goes back to the same person with no effort at all. You notice when warmth turns into caution. You notice when connection turns into space. You notice when something is present but unspoken. That sensitivity can make this experience feel even sharper. A random song can open the whole ache again. A memory can change your whole day. A name can stir your heart before your mind even understands why. But the strongest connections often pass through long silence, not because they were meaningless, but because they were still taking shape in ways neither person could yet control. Some bonds do not disappear cleanly. They stretch across time. They wait for resolution, for growth, for truth, for whatever must happen before the heart can rest. That is why you may still feel them so strongly, not because you are meant to suffer forever, but because something about this story still feels open inside you. If this feels familiar, here is the part many people need to hear. Do not judge yourself harshly for having these thoughts. Let them pass through without forcing extra meaning onto every single one. But do not dismiss them carelessly either. Notice what comes with them. Is it warmth, sadness, hope, grief, peace? Those emotions tell you something. They are not there by accident. Your inner world is speaking. And if you listen with honesty instead of panic, you may begin to understand what this connection is really doing in your life right now. Sometimes the answer is not reunion. Sometimes it is revelation. Sometimes the heart keeps returning to someone, because the soul is still learning what that bond was meant to teach. Remember this clearly. What is truly meant for you does not ask you to abandon yourself. It may require patience, yes. It may require trust, growth, and emotional honesty, but it will not ask you to live in endless pain while calling it love. Whether this connection becomes something real in the outer world, or slowly fades with time, it is shaping you. It is teaching you things you may not fully understand yet. Maybe it is teaching you to stop chasing and start listening. Maybe it is teaching you to recognize your own value without needing constant proof from another person. Maybe it is teaching you that deep feeling is not foolish, but it must be joined by wisdom. Maybe it is preparing you for clarity, whether that clarity arrives as reunion or release. If one day the distance closes, it will likely be because both hearts are finally ready to meet without fear standing between them. And if it does not, the meaning of the bond does not disappear. It still mattered. It still changed you. It still opened a part of you that may never have awakened otherwise. That matters too. So when they return to your thoughts from morning until night, understand this. A quiet connection may still be moving beneath the surface. Many times the other person is thinking of you as well, even if they never admit it to you or even to themselves. Yes, care can exist in silence. Yes, love can hide behind hesitation. Yes, someone can feel deeply and still remain far away, because their courage has not caught up with their heart yet. If you needed to hear that, let it settle, not as a promise, not as false hope, but as one possible truth among many. Sometimes the distance does not mean there is no love. Sometimes it only means the love is still trapped behind fear. And finally, understand this with a calm heart. When you think about someone again and again, it does not always mean they are your future. It does not always mean you must wait. It does not always mean the story will turn into what you want. But it does mean something inside you was touched deeply enough to leave an echo. That echo deserves understanding. It deserves kindness. It deserves truth. The person you cannot stop thinking about may love you. They may miss you. They may carry you quietly in their own mind the way you carry them in yours. But even if that is true, what matters most now is not forcing the outcome. It is becoming clear about what this bond is showing you about love, timing, fear, worth, and healing. Some connections return to our thoughts because they are unfinished with the other person. Some return because they are unfinished within us. And sometimes it is both. So be gentle with yourself. Let the thoughts come and go without shame. Do not rush yourself to feel nothing. Do not force yourself to hold on either. Just notice, learn. If the distance closes one day, let it be because both people are ready, honest, and brave enough to meet each other fully. And if it never closes, let that truth guide you toward peace instead of keeping you trapped in waiting. Either way, what you felt was real, what touched you mattered, and the meaning of this experience will reveal itself more clearly with time. If this felt uncomfortably accurate, then you already know this was never just a passing thought. Some bonds stay with us because they changed us. Some stay because they are still asking for understanding. And some stay because even in silence, the heart still remembers what once felt true.